quickly caused Eula to collapse. Late at night, Ellie went to her ex-husband's office to keep their appointment. An emotional Gouda grabbed Ellie and told her not to push herself too hard. Ellie said that you had caused all of this yourself. Gouda told her that Eula was pregnant. Hearing this news, Ellie froze for a moment. He asked Ellie, as a woman herself, how she could bear to do this. Gouda said, I'm the one who caused your miscarriage. But what was your motive for being so cruel to Eula, who is pregnant with your child? Ellie couldn't believe that this man could say such things. Gouda could say even worse things himself. In your heart, I'm already the worst man. I don't want Eula to see me that way. 2. Ellie told him that if that was the case, then just wait and see. Gouda was actually very scared inside. With nowhere to turn, he had to go out and get drunk. After doing so many bad things, he didn't know how it would end. The drunk Gouda made a scene there. Eula received a call and had to come and pick him up. Tired at heart, he told Eula that he didn't want to go home. Eula had to take him back to the small apartment. Gouda embraced Eula. At this time, he was so tired and wanted to rest. Looking at his sleeping wife by his side, Gouda's heart was full of mixed emotions. He knew it was time to make a decision. Eula woke up in the morning and found her husband wasn't by her side. She found a note on the table saying he had gone out for a while to clear his mind. Gouda's phone was also switched off. When she returned home and asked her family, they all said they had seen him. She called her mother-in-law and she said Gouda hadn't returned either. At this time, Gouda was standing by the sea, recalling the bits and pieces of the past. At that time, he told Eula that the two of them were over. Later, they still got together despite their reluctance. Eula received a call from him. Gouda asked her to go out and said he wanted to talk face to face about something. Eula was worried and asked him if something had happened. Gouda said he couldn't go on like this anymore. Eula didn't understand what he meant. Gouda once again emphasized that he wanted a divorce. He said he didn't have the confidence to go through with it with her, but Eula insisted that he explain the reason. Gouda said he would tell her everything in the future. He apologized and said he just wanted to catch his breath for now. Eula thought it was all because of Ellie. Gouda didn't bother to refute this. An angry Eula called Ellie and told her to come out and meet her immediately. Without saying anything else, she slapped her directly in the face and said, "Are you satisfied that Gouda wants to divorce me?" She called Ellie a person who destroys other people's families. Ellie asked in return, "Then didn't you also take Gouda away from someone else?" She told Eula to ask Gouda herself why he wanted a divorce. Eula said that she would talk to her parents and make things clear. "You married your brother because you wanted revenge." Ellie told her to do whatever she wanted. Gouda was packing his personal belongings at the company, saying that he would hand over all his business. He didn't care about Eula's entreaties. No matter how Eula begged him, he still left without turning back. He thought about it and still wanted to meet Ellie. Gouda told her to do whatever she wanted. He had already resigned and told Eula about the divorce. "If you want to tell about my past, just say it." But Ellie, who knew him well, knew at a glance that Gouda was just putting on an act in front of Eula. "You don't honestly think I'd give up everything, do you? Anyway, do what you want. I'll make sure you all perish first. Eula is pregnant. My mother-in-law will definitely side with me. She'll only make you divorced, you knew." Gouda tells Ellie to be realistic. He's confident in his plan. Ellie feels it's still necessary to talk to him again. Gouda tells her to get to the point. Ellie asks him to wait a little longer. Someone is still not here. She doesn't expect the person she is waiting for to be Eula. Gouda is shocked to see Eula. Ellie says she wants to talk to you face to face about your husband. Eula tells him not to waste his breath. He will definitely tell his parents everything in front of them. Ellie takes a photo out of her bag and hands it to Eula. Eula looks at the photo himself. When he sees the photo, Eula can't believe it. He learns that his sister-in-law is actually his husband's ex-wife. Eula can't believe such a disgusting thing, and is so scared that Gouda next to her doesn't know what to do. Ellie tells Eula that your brother passed away because he knew the truth. Eula really can't accept this fact. Ellie says that Junu also knows about this. Gouda, who is guilty, wants Eula to go out and talk. It seems that Eula already knows that this is true. Gouda, who is nervous, quickly chased after her, but Eula doesn't want to listen to this person's explanation. She ran like crazy to Junu and asked her brother to tell her if it was true. When she heard Junu say that she had known for a long time, Eula couldn't believe it. "You three knew and hid it from me. You knew and still married Ellie." No matter how Junu explained, Eula wouldn't listen. In her opinion, her brother was just trying to avenge Ellie. She said she would never let you three go. The three of them walked out and saw Gouda at the door. Gouda tried to explain but was slapped by Eula and told him to stay put and wait for her to call. At this time, Gouda was very worried. Eula really found it hard to accept all this. Lucy, who felt guilty, saw her sister-in-law and quickly hid. The sad Eula just ignored her. Lucy guessed right away that her sister-in-law must have found out something. She quickly called her mother to report the news. Gouda, who was sitting on the hot seat, thought about what Ellie had said. He was so angry that he almost set his office on fire. Ellie received a call from Eula asking to meet, and she wanted to find out what was going on. Ellie said she had been married to Gouda for 3 years, and only then did she find out that he had not registered their marriage and that he even had another woman. Eula asked when she had found out. It was when his mother's company was about to go bankrupt. Eula did not understand why she had not come to her to tell her the truth. Ellie said that she had tried to do so. At that time, your brother had just had an accident. Eula then remembered that someone had called her to ask to meet. She couldn't understand why Ellie didn't contact her again afterwards. Ellie said Gouda lied to her and said he had lost contact with you. I chose to believe him. I never thought that you would save his mother's company. Gouda even took my mother and me on a trip abroad and took the opportunity to marry you. After hearing Ellie's words, Eula suddenly remembered that after the wedding, Gouda often behaved strangely. Now everything can be explained clearly. Ellie said that after you got married, Gouda tried to get me to have an abortion. Eula thought Ellie was exaggerating. How could I have married someone like that? Ellie said that person was a scumbag. She told Eula to find someone to investigate those. Eula told Ellie that if there was even half a lie she would never let go of your family. She smashed the wedding photos like crazy. She really couldn't accept it. No matter how her mother asked, she wouldn't say. Eula just threw Gouda's clothes like crazy. This wasn't enough to vent her anger. She went through Ellie's room and started smashing, and took down her wedding photos and smashed them. At this point, she couldn't say anything, just kept crying, as if this was the only way to vent. Jiunu, who had rushed back, tried to persuade her stepmother to calm down. What on earth is going on? Jiunu didn't know what to say for a moment. At this time, Gouda also rushed back. Eula desperately pulled him and told him to get out. Eula, who was pregnant, was so emotional that she collapsed on the ground, looking at her daughter lying on the hospital bed. Eula's mother asked everyone what was going on. Gouda walked out of the room with his head down. As soon as he walked out, he met Ellie, who had come to visit. Ellie asked him how Eula was doing. In Gouda's opinion, she was just there to watch the fun. She said that if Eula aborted the baby, she would definitely let her die with her. Ellie retorted that this was all your own doing. Gouda felt that it was all her and Jiunu who had forced him into that situation. This scene happened to be heard by Jiunu, who had just come out. He grabbed Gouda and asked him how dare he be so arrogant. Gouda said that the person lying there is your own sister. Eula's mother came out and said that her daughter had woken up and asked Gouda to go in and take a look. Gouda hoped that his wife would listen to his explanation, but Eula didn't want to see the scum. Eula's mother asked Ellie why Eula had become like this. It must be that she had done something to Eula. Even if you are the daughter of my good friend, as long as you hurt my child I will never forgive you. Ellie said that it was indeed her own fault, and this was heard by Gouda's mother, who was hiding nearby. Ellie's sister was asked by Eula's mother to help find her brother. After much trouble, she finally found his place of residence, but she was not greeted by Eula's mother's brother. It turned out that her brother had already passed away. After learning the reason for Enzu's visit, the man gave him a package of belongings and a note. He asked her to hand it over to the deceased's sister. Eula in the hospital really could not forgive Ellie. The next day, her mother came to the hospital. She had already left. An angry Eula dragged Ellie back to her mother's house and confronted her mother, asking how she could do such a thing, and whether she had supported her daughter behind her back. She said she would never let Ellie and her family off the hook, and asked whether her mother had coveted her family's wealth. Enzu could no longer hold back and almost fought with Eula. Enzu said, "You stole someone else's husband and destroyed someone else's family." Eula angrily said, "Ellie trampled on my life." Ellie said, "You have trampled on my life long ago." This fact made Eula unable to refute. At this time, Ellie's younger brother discovered that Gouda's mother had slipped in at some point. Eula asked her mother-in-law to explain the situation. Gouda's mother wanted to ask Eula to go out and talk alone. Eula said that her son was in a fraudulent marriage. "You actually asked me to marry your son when Ellie was still your daughter-in-law." Gouda's mother said that wasn't the case. "Ellie only dated my son for a while." Ellie's mother took her by the hand and wanted to go to Eula's mother's side to reason with her, but she was in a hurry to explain to the daughter-in-law of the wealthy family that she should not let them be cheated. Eula said she would find out everything. Scared, Gouda's mother could not even stand up. Eula received a call from the investigator saying that everything was true. Outraged, she ran to Gouda's house and took out a stack of documents. This was exactly the proof that Ellie and Gouda had married. Gouda also immediately admitted that he had indeed been married to Ellie for 3 years. Eula angrily asked her husband if he was still living with someone else. "How dare you pretend to be single and marry me when you haven't sorted things out? And you said she was just your ex-girlfriend's best friend." Gouda asked Eula what she really wanted. "Can't we just get a divorce?" Eula said she would file a complaint with the court. "As a lawyer, you should know the consequences of fraudulent marriage." This almost scared the mother-in-law to death. Eula said not only that, but I will also apply for financial compensation and the investment in your mother's company before the marriage. When the mother-in-law heard that she had to pay money, she almost fainted. Eula said you only have 3 days. If you can't pay the money by then, You can just wait for the house to be mortgaged. Guda's mother let go of her pride and begged Ellie, hoping that she would admit that she had betrayed Guda, and admit that she seduced Junu and got a divorce. The battered Ellie didn't bother to pay any attention to the old woman. Guda's mother had no choice but to fall to her knees in front of her and say she was wrong, and begged her to help her out this time. Ellie thought back to when she had also knelt like this. At that time, she had also said she was wrong, and begged her to go back and help her son give false testimony. But now Ellie was no longer that weak, which made the old woman very worried. Enzu was very torn up. Now her sister-in-law must be very upset, and her daughter and son-in-law must be having a terrible fight, whether or not to tell her that her brother had passed away. The executive tells Guda that everyone is very satisfied with his proposal, and that Guda should use secret funds to buy Eula's shares, and promise to promote him to vice president after taking power. Ellie just entered the house and saw that her luggage had been thrown down. Eula told her to get out of her house. Ellie said that she would not leave until her mother-in-law kicked her out, but soon her mother-in-law came out of the room and told her to get out immediately. Ellie emphasized that she had something to say about Guda. Eula, who knows the truth, says there is no need, but her mother asks everyone to sit down and says, in her mother-in-law's opinion, Ellie is just her son's ex-girlfriend's best friend, and Ellie married into the family to take revenge on her friend. When Ellie tries to explain, her mother-in-law angrily tells her to get out immediately, and that's how Ellie was kicked out of her second marriage. Eula's mother gathers everyone back and asks Guda to move back home. Since the chairman is not there, she can pretend nothing happened. She told Ellie to divorce and leave the house. Junu really couldn't accept it, but she thought it was normal for a man to have had several girlfriends before marriage. Guda also told Junu to think about the consequences of her actions. Junu grabbed this scumbag and almost beat him up in public. At this time, the doorbell rang. Junu finally restrained himself. The eldest daughter-in-law told her mother-in-law that there was an urgent message for her. When she opened it, she almost made her mother-in-law pass out. It was a wedding photo of Guda and Ellie. She looked at her son-in-law and daughter-in-law who had just entered the door, and found it hard to accept that this was real. Guda even arrogantly told Junu and Ellie to get a divorce quickly. Eula told him not to be smug, and said that the two were over, and that he would never be forgiven. Eula's mother looked at the photo in her hand and thought, how could her obedient son-in-law hurt her daughter like this? Ellie's mother asked Eula's mother to meet her and decided to confess everything. When she saw that Ellie's mother kept stammering and couldn't say it, Eula's mother directly took out Ellie in Guda's wedding photo, and asked Ellie's mother if this was true, and when she got a positive answer, Eula's mother poured a glass of cold water over her. No matter how Ellie's mother explained and apologized, Eula's mother was unable to forgive her. This was her only best friend. Ellie's mother said, no matter what you do to me is fine. I just beg you to forgive my Ellie. But the angry Eula's mother couldn't hear anything at this time. Enzu, who had been worried because her mother had not returned, wanted to tidy up and help out. However, she found a letter that had fallen out of her mother's clothes. Reading the letter in her hands, she could not believe it. It turned out that her mother had been hiding her past. When Eula returned home, she gave Guda a slap in the face. Guda, who was feeling guilty, quickly knelt down and tried to argue. However, her mother-in-law, who already knew everything, was furious. She told him to admit to the fraudulent marriage in front of his ex-wife. Guda tried to fight back, but Ellie threw an envelope at him, and said, this is the contract you made me keep secret about your previous marriage. Because of this, my sister went to prison. My mother was also seriously injured by him. Eula's mother couldn't believe the monster in front of her, and vowed that he would pay a price. An angry Guda wanted to take it out on Ellie, but Ellie told him to go home and take a look. At that moment, everything in the house was seized, and they were about to lose everything. Eula's father returns from a business trip to find that his son-in-law and daughter-in-law have both run away. He asks the women in the house what the hell is going on. Junu takes Ellie back to the house, afraid that her husband will find out. Eula's mother asks them to go to their room to talk. Junu tells her stepmother not to try to get rid of Ellie again, or she will never let it go, afraid that the truth will come out. Eula's mother has to hold back. Eula asks Ellie if she really wants to divorce Guda, so you and my brother can take over the whole company. Ellie told her not to let her guard down. Guda would not just give up. Even the ladle in Guda's house was sealed up. The whole family was asking him what he was going to do now. Guda, who was full of tricks, would never just sit there. He went to his mother-in-law's house, but the door was not open to him. Guda could only keep ringing the doorbell. What he got was indeed a bucket of cold water. His sister-in-law told him that your mother-in-law said she would call the police if he kept making noise. At this point, Ellie went out to work, and Guda wanted to take the opportunity to sneak in. Ellie said that the family had told him not to set foot in the house. While they were talking, Eula also came out. Guda said that he had something to say to his mother-in-law. Eula slammed the door in his face and told him to get lost. Ellie asked if he could now understand how she felt. The situation is exactly the same as mine. When you two got married behind my back, how could I beg your mother to let me in, but she wouldn't open the door to me? Guda asks if she's feeling smug now. Ellie says that this is just the beginning. After Ellie leaves, Eula's mother opens the door. Gouda begs his mother-in-law to give him another chance. He emphasizes that he really wants to help you and Eula by joining the company. His mother-in-law can't believe that this man is still full of lies at this point. Gouda says that Junu has your black book in his hands. This shocked Eula's mother. Gouda returned home dejected. His uncle could see at a glance that he had been splashed with water at his mother-in-law's house. Gouda called the executive and asked him to leak the black book, and framed Junu for it. Gouda's mother was furious to see that everything in the house had been seized. She ran to Ellie's mother's side and smashed her stall to pieces. She blamed Ellie for everything, and said she would soon be living on the streets and that she